Jury selection is underway in the trial of Duane Keith Davis, better known as Keffe D, the only person ever charged in connection with the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur. And I cannot believe I'm about to cover this. This feels like something that should have happened already, 20 some odd years ago, and it belongs in like celebrity history somewhere. And yet here we are. Jury selection began on Monday, August 10th. It is currently Thursday at the time of this video, and it is expected to last throughout the week. If everything goes according to schedule, opening statements will begin on Monday, August 17th. But before we get there, let's do a quick recap of how the hell we got here. Tupac Shakur was shot on September 7, 1996, while riding in a BMW driven by Death Row Records co-founder Suge Knight near the Las Vegas Strip. Earlier that night, Tupac and Suge Knight had attended the Mike Tyson vs. Bruce Seldon heavyweight title fight at the MGM Grand. After the fight, Tupac, Suge Knight, and others were involved in an altercation inside the MGM Grand with Orlando Anderson, who was Keffe D's nephew and a member of the Southside Compton Crips. A few hours later, a white Cadillac pulled alongside the BMW and someone inside opened fire. Tupac was hit multiple times and died 6 days later. He was 25 years old. A lot of us know that story, but I think we're about to see a whole new generation of people learning the facts of this case as this trial unfolds. For decades, no one was charged. Then we get to Keffe D. And here's what makes this prosecution interesting. The state is not alleging that Keffe D was the person who actually pulled the trigger. Prosecutors allege that after the MGM Grand fight, Davis helped orchestrate a retaliatory attack and provided the firearm that was ultimately used in the shooting. And here is where his own words become incredibly important. In previous interviews and public statements, Davis placed himself inside the Cadillac that night and described his alleged role in what happened. His current defense, however, has challenged whether the state can actually prove he was there. Davis has pleaded not guilty to the murder charge, and part of the reason we're even here almost 30 years later is because Keffe D kept talking. Over the years, he spoke about the killing during interviews, and in 2019, he co-wrote a memoir called Compton Street Legend that discussed his own alleged involvement in what happened that night. Those public statements ultimately helped breathe new life into a case that had been cold for decades. But there's another legal issue that's going to make this trial very interesting. Years ago, Davis participated in interviews with law enforcement under what's called a proffer agreement. This agreement allows someone to give information to prosecutors or investigators under specific negotiated protections about how those statements can be used against them. Davis's defense has argued that statements he made during those interviews were protected, but prosecutors dispute that those agreements gave him blanket immunity from prosecution in Nevada, particularly when it comes to statements Davis later made publicly in his book and interviews. So I fully expect that we're going to hear a lot more about exactly what Keffe D said, when he said it, who he said it to, and, most importantly, whether the jury gets to hear it. Davis was finally arrested in September of 2023 and has been fighting this case ever since. So now, almost 3 years later, and almost 30 years after Tupac's death, we finally have a jury trial. The Las Vegas Review-Journal has been doing extensive coverage of this case, including a guide for how to attend, follow, and watch the trial, so make sure that you definitely check them out. That's where I'm getting a lot of my updates now leading up to trial. This will likely be a televised trial, so you should be able to watch the proceedings as they happen. Your girl will definitely be watching this trial, so if you want your recaps from me, make sure that you hit that follow or subscribe button. And as always, like, comment, and share so I can continue to bring you these updates. I'll catch you in the next one.